This is a Dark Illumination Report Extra with RJ Womack.
Our next question comes from Nicole, who asked me to tell her a little bit about the ministry, a little bit about the new tradition I'm working on. And by the way, she's not the only one. I've gotten this question from a lot of people, and I've answered it a few times, and I don't really want to keep answering it, but I will, because I think there have been a few things that people are unclear about. When I originally came up with this idea, I wanted to actually work on trying to perform rituals for people and perform ceremonies for people for free, and that was kind of the focus. But as time went on, I really started to realize that I don't really trust a lot of people. I don't really feel that many people take this religion seriously. I don't feel like most people that would call themselves Satanist or Diabolist have a good work ethic, and I don't think they have the job skills or professionalism to help run an organization. I find that what I'm having the biggest problem with is finding people that understand that you have to run a professional organization like a professional. You have to show up for meetings. You have to write policies. You have to write, procedures. You have to produce and publish documents, and you have to meet your deadlines, and you have to do what you say you're going to do. And what I find is that most Satanists have a very poor work ethic. They think that organizations just appear out of nowhere, and they don't realize that you have to have people willing to work. You have to have people willing to volunteer. You have to have people willing to write articles, to publish newsletters, to put on events, to do gatherings, to show up for meetings, to create policies and procedures and rituals and put systems in place so that the organization can run. And I mean, I know this seems like really stupid if you're listening to this and you have any sense of professionalism or have any sense of, if you've ever worked a real job in your life or you've ever been a professional at all on any level. But for a lot of people, this is like I'm talking a foreign language. And like I had one person who wrote me after they volunteered to be a part of this ministry, and they said, "Gee, brother, you seem to be mad at me for something." It's because I asked them to do one simple task that a 5-year-old could do, and they couldn't even do it in a matter of a month, much less do the task professionally or in an efficient way. And then they wonder why you're angry and you don't want to have anything to do with them. What I find is that most Satanists do not take this religion seriously. So that's why I've started to call it diabolism, because I'm hoping that by using the term diabolism, by not using the term Satanism to refer to my religion, I'm hoping that it will attract a higher quality of people that understand what it takes to run an organization, that have a love for Satanism enough that they want to be around people who seriously want to practice it and who want to change the attitude associated and the image associated with Satanism. I mean, because I want to bring back a tradition of Satanism or create a tradition of Satanism where people are actually interested in helping minister to people, where people are actually interested in promoting the religion and promoting the religious worship of Satan, and a tradition where people are actually practicing the religion and living by the religion and raising their children to believe in the religion. And they have a work ethic. They're proud of their religion. They want to be somebody. They want to achieve things, and they want to bring a sense of pride to what they do, and they want to bring a sense of honor to Satan's name. And I don't see that in people who associate themselves with contemporary Satanism or even the black metal community. I see exactly the opposite. I see almost a pride in being uneducated or being thuggish, and I just don't get it. I don't understand that mentality. It's not who I am. It's not something that I have ever seen Satan or the demons represent. If anything, I think in my experience, I've seen that the demons have a sense of honor. They have a sense of ethics. It may not be Christian ethics, but they do have ethics, and they do have standards, and they expect you to be a person of honor, at least according to their code of honor, and at least according to Satan's code of honor, which is to, when you make a promise to the demons, you follow through. When you make a promise to your brothers and sisters who are also dedicated to Satan, you're supposed to follow through. This is very similar to the heathen idea of being a man of action, not words, judging a man or woman by their deeds, not their words. What I've found in my years as a Satanist is that you don't listen to what people say, you watch what they do. Because I'll have people write to me that listen to this podcast and they'll go, "Oh, brother, I want to help you do this ministry. And oh, I think you're great. And I think you're wonderful." But then when you actually ask them to do something that requires them to do actual work, they tend not to do it. They tend to be very fucking lazy. And you can't run an organization that way. So that's part of the issue that I have, and that's part of the issue that I have had. But also, I realize that the critical thing is to get accurate information about pagan occult practices and Satanism practices. So I've been focusing on that as part of the thing that I'm going to try to do with this podcast and with the newsletter that I want to come out with. I want to come out with a newsletter where we focus on providing accurate research and accurate information just as a community service, because I think there's so much terrible information out there. I think there's so much inaccurate information in occult books and in pagan books, especially neo-pagan books. Because what happens with neo-pagan books, and this is something people don't realize, is that you have these neo-pagan authors that learned everything they know from other neo-pagan authors who don't know very much about what they're talking about. They just write random shit. And sometimes, even if the information they provide is accurate, it's been whitewashed or Christianized so much so that they make the pagan beliefs that they're talking about look silly. And they don't always resemble the actual pagan practices of the ancient peoples they say they do. And one of the big areas where this is obvious is when it comes to Druidic practice. They have this neo-Druidism that is not actually based in Druidism. It apparently has this 20-year history, but the Druidism that people are practicing is not based in ancient Druidism, because the people that study Druidism, the archaeologists and the historians, don't actually know enough about the Druids to be able to piece together their practices. So these practices that you see in these books about Druidity or Druidism are made up. They're New Age beliefs made up by people. They're systems of magic and practice made up by people that aren't Druids. But they'll tell you that Druidism's been around for 20 years, but it's not based on the ancient practices. So therefore, it's not actual Druidism. It's ridiculous. And this is the kind of stuff you see in witchcraft. It's the kind of stuff you see in many different practices. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to try to correct. It's not that there's nothing useful in neo-paganism. I mean, there are some things that the neo-pagans get right. There's some writers that actually get their research right and do a good job, or at least a decent job. But you should always double check anything, especially when it comes to paganism and Satanism and witchcraft, with actual historical information, archaeological books, well-researched books. So you always want to look for books by academics. And then if you want to read neo-paganism just to give yourself some supplemental material, then do that. But never rely on modern contemporary books on witchcraft or Satanism as your sole source for research. Always look for books by academics. Now, before I go on, I want to say this too, and I've said this before. Not all professors are saints. Not all professors say things that are smart. There are stupid professors, believe it or not. There are people in academia that do not know what they're talking about sometimes, or they misjudge or mischaracterize certain belief systems. But all in all, they're going to be far more accurate than, say, Sally Moonbeam, who happens to publish books under certain imprints. You know, Sally Moonbeam may have a popular book, but it doesn't mean that Sally Moonbeam knows the first thing about Druidism or Celtic beliefs or actual witchcraft or Greek mythology or anything else. So the professor that spent 20 years researching Greek mythology might know more than Sally Moonbeam. All right? That's my point. And as far as the other stuff goes, as far as what I want to achieve with the ministry, I really do want to deal with normal, ordinary people that are just serious about their Satanism. I want to deal with honorable people, people that aren't trying to be, they're not trying to kiss up to you, but they're also not trying to be assholes either. They're just normal people that actually want to help people. And what I mean by that is I don't want people involved in this ministry that are just out there to join stuff. There's all kinds of people in occultism that all they do is join every organization or every Facebook group they can get involved in so they can say, oh, I was associated with this group and I've been associated with that group and I've done this and I've done that. I don't want joiners. I'm not impressed by joiners. I'm not impressed by people that wear, sterling silver jewelry to prove how satanic they are. I'm not impressed by tattoos. I'm not impressed by black metal t-shirts. I'm not impressed by corpse paint. What I'm impressed by is, do you live your life according to satanic principles? Do you raise your children to believe in Satan? Do you raise your children to worship the demons? Do you practice every day? Do you pray every day? Do you live your life according to the beliefs that you say you practice? Do you talk the talk or do you walk the walk? And if you're a real demonolator, or not a demonolator, but a diabolist, then you should walk the walk and talk the talk. And you should be able to show that you do that every day of your life by your actions, not your words. That's the kind of people I'm looking for. That's the kind of ministry I want to build. I want to build a ministry that's for people who actually want to fight for Satan, want to create a religious tradition that is actually about worshiping Satan. It's actually about doing and not just talking about it. So with that in mind, I just want to end this little segment by saying that what I hope to eventually do over time with this podcast is to have a section that'll give you some history and some accurate research about paganism or some occult topic, and then give you another section that will give you advice on how to develop yourself and how to evolve and how to work on yourself on a personal level to help you be a better person, both for yourself and for Satan. And lastly, I want to give you some advice on every episode that will help you to improve your daily practice so you can actually be practicing Satanism instead of just talking about Satan. Or again, I have to get used to saying diabolism instead of Satanism, but where you're actually practicing the worship of Satan instead of just talking about it. The other thing that I would say too is that I really, really want you to understand that you have to live this religion. You have to breathe it. You have to be about it. You can't just talk about it. Even if you do the simplest things, even if you just do a basic breathing exercise, do a basic meditation, and pray once or twice a day, if you do that, you're doing more than 99% of the people out there who claim to be a magician. You're doing more than most people who actually claim to worship Satan. So think about it like that.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com.